Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, a new edition of an excellent book by one of the most prolific writers of the 20th century. Here's my review of The Cat by Georges Simenon. So Simenon is probably a name that is familiar to fans of crime fiction, but maybe not familiar to the wider public anymore, despite the fact that he was a hugely successful writer in his day. So he was a Belgian writer born near the start of the 20th century and published an estimated 400 novels across a variety of different names. He's best known for the Maigret books, which he published under his own name, Simenon. There were 75 novels in that series, as well as some short story collections. So a very, very prolific writer indeed. And it's estimated that his books sold 500 million copies, which is absolutely crazy. I've read a few of his suspense novels over the years and a few of the Maigret mysteries as well, which are very, very entertaining. So when Penguin offered to send me a copy of this new translation of one of his standalone novels, The Cat, I was keen to give it a try. And I'll be honest, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but it was absolutely fantastic. So this is not I was going to say it's not a crime novel. It kind of is a crime novel, but it's definitely not a traditional crime novel. And it's not really a suspense novel either. It's got mysterious elements to it, and those definitely kept me turning the pages and kept me intrigued. But it's much more of a character study than it is a traditional mystery novel. So let me tell you what it's about. So it was originally published in 1967, and as I say, this is a new translation by a translator called Roz Schwartz. So that new translation is actually published today, the 6th of November 2025, and this edition that I've got here is really lovely. So a fantastic cover and some nice French flaps, or as I joked in a book haul video, maybe they are Belgian flaps, given that Simenon was Belgian, but a really nice edition. And this is a book that's about a couple who live in Paris. And that sense of place in this book is fantastic. It really felt like a kind of slightly run-down arrondissement of Paris in the 1960s. There are lots of bars and lots of bits where characters sit in bars and drink red wine. It's definitely got that Parisian feel to it. But the hook at the start of this book is absolutely phenomenal. So it starts with this elderly couple, so they're both retired, sitting in their flat in Paris, and the husband passes a note to the wife that just says "The Cat." And as the book continues, you discover that they do not talk to each other. They have had a huge falling out. They absolutely hate each other. And they communicate purely by passing notes to each other. So they continue to coexist in their apartment, but they don't have any sort of normal marital relations of any sort, or even talk to each other. They absolutely loathe and detest each other. And the book is about kind of unpicking the mystery of how that happened, and also thinking about what happens next. So it is, in many ways, it uses Simenon's skill as a writer of mystery novels to keep you intrigued. And the central mystery of this book really is what happened to the cat. So what is revealed fairly early on, this is no spoiler, is the fact that the husband believes that his wife murdered his pet cat, and that was kind of the start of their falling out. And she believes that he took some actions in response to that have caused her great distress as well. So you've got this central mystery of how they came to hate each other, which haunts the rest of the book and haunts their characters. And as the story progresses, their relationship kind of moves on in various ways. I won't tell you what those are. And you get to know a bit more about the area outside of their apartment. So when the book starts, it's got that wonderful kind of claustrophobic feel of these two people who are at silent war with each other, this kind of cold war of attrition that is taking place within this apartment between these two elderly people. As the book progresses, you learn more about the outside area and people who live in that area, and as I say, more about the kind of sources of their feud, but also about how they came to be a couple in the first place. So they are a somewhat unlikely couple. But primarily, this book, whilst it's definitely about their relationship, is about the guy, and it's about him trying to come to terms with the place that his life has ended up in, and he does that through a series of actions. I'm not going to tell you what those are because they will spoil the book, but it's very interesting watching him go through these kind of steps where he tries to understand himself, tries to understand, how he has ended up where he is. And you get this wonderful insight into his character over the course of his whole life, really. The book gradually teases out the details of how he came to be the person that he is. And it's all beautifully done. It's a very gentle book in many ways. There is hatred in this book, for sure, and a lot of bitterness and a lot of cruelty. In some ways it reminded me of the book The Stepdaughter that I recently reviewed, which again is a new reissue of an older book, and that again is a book that's about a kind of war of wills between two people, and has that sense of claustrophobia that this book has at the start as well. But this book goes in different directions and is a really wonderful study of these two people, the guy in particular, and also of the place that they live in. So you really do get this fantastic sense, as I've said, of the little corner of Paris that they inhabit, and the history of that place as well. So he manages to pack a huge amount into what is a very short book. So it's only 150 pages long, but it has a wonderful emotional depth to it, but a broader depth than that as well. It feels like a really lovely picture of a place and time, as well as being a portrait of these two characters. So as you can tell, I really did think this was a pretty fantastic book. Despite my disappointment when I saw the title, The Cat, I assumed there was going to be a cat in the book and it was going to be about a cat. It is kind of peripherally about the cat, but about a cat who became deceased before the book even starts. So yeah, it's really, really fantastic. If you've read other stuff by Simenon and enjoyed that, whilst this is not a crime novel in the traditional sense, I think it has enough of that kind of mystery and suspense element to it that you will enjoy it. But it's definitely more of a character study than it is a plot-driven novel, but one that I hugely enjoyed and would definitely recommend to you. So those are my thoughts on The Cat by Georges Simenon. Not a typical crime novel, but definitely one that I think will appeal to lovers of crime fiction like me. Let me know in the comments if you're a fan of Simenon, and in particular Maigret. Maigret is one of those characters who I find myself continually going back to, and I'm delighted by the fact that I have only kind of experienced the tip of the iceberg with the Maigret books. I have many, many left to go, and will look forward to reading those in the remaining years of my life. So yeah, hopefully you like the sound of this. Do give it a try. If you do, I will leave things there and say, as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio. Or perhaps today that should be au revoir.